Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Not So Secret Writers Club. If you're hearing us on the podcast, on the replay, welcome to you as well. If you're watching us, we are streaming live now on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Check us out, technical gurus that we are.
We won't tell them about the trouble we had getting in.
No, we won't tell it. We won't mention that little blip. It's just a little temporary blip. So this week, we've got the lovely Joanna Kate. She's back from her gallivanting around shopping and drinking cocktails and whatever she was doing last weekend. She doesn't even look ashamed, to be fair. She doesn't even look even slightly ashamed. And then this week, we've got the gorgeous Beverley Bunn. Who has been a member of the Rite of Passage Growth Academy for the past year and has just published her first book. And I think Bev is about as excited as a person gets about this whole situation. In fact, I've seen small children on Christmas morning look less excited than Bev is right now. I know. Oh, bless your heart. It's just been so. She joined one of our meetings the other week, Joanna, and even I couldn't get a word in edgeways. That's how excited she's been. She's going to pause for breath any minute now. Every. So
that's a high five. No, we're high five.
Yeah, whoa.
No, wrong way. That's it.
You know what? That's the thing about the whole academy and all of the writers. And Sandra said it's been so lovely that you've all come to publication at the same time, because we've all shared each other's joy, and it's just kind of escalated everybody's joy and enjoyment of the whole process. And it's really, even when I've had a day where I've thought, my God, if I edit one more word, I'm literally going to implode. And then suddenly something happens and I'm just instantly buoyant again. It's been a really uplifting experience, and one good thing to come out of lockdown, amongst others, I'm sure. So the lovely Jane has said hi. She's joined us this evening, our other author. She'll be joining us next week to talk about her debut novel. So Beverley, first of all then, tell us about your book.
Well, Karen.
Hey! Seasoned professional. She's waving one in front of her eyes.
My second box of books arrived today, because I thought, I'll order 20, because we don't, we only need them for like the launch at the bookshop and whatever. And I'd nearly sold out of them within a week from friends requesting, can I have one? Can I have two? Thought, I better order more. So the new box arrived today. And I had lunch with some friends and took one for each of them that they wanted. And it's just so nice being able to hand it over to people.
Lovely.
And like, can you write a message? I was like, to my friend Lisa at lunchtime. Who's it for? She went, for me.
Oh, how lovely. Yeah. Oh, how lovely. Lovely.
So, well, as you may be able to guess.
Other way. Everything's back to front.
Anyone who's been on the moon for the last my book is about the escapades of my two dogs. So, like you said, I think before, Karen, the story was staring me in the face for a while, because Harvey, my bigger dog, my older dog, he's 9 now, and he was 7.5 when we got Chester, and it was like because I'm an only child. And I always wondered what it would be like to have a sibling. And I always sort of wanted one, but only so that, like, if I had a brother, he could bring his nice mates around, or, something like that. Because I didn't really want to share my parents with anyone. I didn't really want to share my bedroom, or, do you know what I mean? But I just thought, it's probably nice to have a sibling, but I don't know if I really want one.
No.
And so when Chester arrived, I looked at Harvey's face and I just thought, oh, you don't know what's hit you. Do you know what I mean? And he did, and he was so funny, because you could see he was confused, and thinking maybe this puppy just here for a holiday, because we had looked after my cousin's pug for a couple of weeks once, and Harvey started off going, what the hell's that? And then he sort of got to like her after a couple of weeks, and then she went home, and he looked a bit like, oh, I was just getting used to that sort of thing. But when he saw like Chester arrive, I could tell he was not happy. But as these things happen, it grew on him a bit. But I started I started a Instagram account for them because I just found everything funny. And speaking. Sounds like
Knocked him
polystyrene.
out.
Oh.
Oh, is that your dog? Crikey.
No. I put a box in front of the door so they don't come in.
Oh, okay. They're trying their best. They're trying their best.
They know we're talking about dogs. They think they're involved.
Yeah.
So I set up an Instagram account for the dogs, and I just started putting posts on it and writing everything from their perspective. All the posts were one of them telling the tale or speaking or whatever, doing what they were doing, and I just really liked writing these little posts, and I just chuckle to myself because I think I'm really funny. And so I write a post and just like, that was hilarious. I don't know if anyone else finds it funny, but I'm finding it funny. And then gradually people were going, oh, that is, I do like seeing your posts from the dogs. I do like the dogs' posts. You should write a book. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe I should. Oh, just park that idea. There's no way I'm gonna ever write a book. I'm rubbish at English. that old thing coming back to haunt you from school because you got a D in English Lit and you were rubbish and your teacher was just horrendous and boring and never liked English at all. But as an adult, I felt like I actually did quite like writing things. And then met you, Karen, didn't I?
That was it.
Well, I think it was Zoe who put me on to you. I must have mentioned it to Zoe in a meeting once I was in with Zoe Cairns. And she's gone, oh, you need to speak to Karen Stanley. It's like, oh, who's Karen Stanley? She's like, oh, yeah, she's an author, but, you know, she'll have a chat with her about writing a book. Of course, me and you had a little Zoom, didn't we, Karen?
Yeah, we did. I remember it well.
That was probably, was it August?
Well, it's over a year. Yeah, it's over a year. Yeah, it's over a year ago. Yeah, I know.
And at that Zoom, we found out that we both went to the same school.
Yeah, I know, it's mad, wasn't it? I came off that call like, oh, that was a bit
spooky.
So
that was Mayfield Grammar, which is now, well, it was Gravesend School for Girls.
Yeah.
When we went, wasn't it, Karen?
Is it not called that anymore?
No, it's called Mayfield Grammar now.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
I don't know why, but I think there was a building called Mayfield Manor or something rather like that.
Don't know.
And anyway, they changed it. So and then we got talking about writing books, and then a couple of months later, Karen decides she's setting up a writers group. So I'm like, oh, I'll join that then. Maybe I'll learn how to do writing now properly with grammar and punctuation and spellings and everything. And so so I joined Karen's writers group, and then she made us write a book. Basically, everyone had to write.
I'm going to get a reputation as a bit of a tyrant. Poor Fiona joined for a chat, and then I said to her, right, when's your book coming out? She was like, well, I only came for the chat. Jackie was like, I had a few ideas, but I didn't really know what I was going to write. So I'm going to get a reputation as being a bit forceful. But I was like, well,
Whiplash.
Yeah. Punches up all kinds of. Yeah, talking to the right person for whiplash. So Jackie has just said hi. Sorry, I'm late. Zoe's listening. Hi, Zoe.
Hi, Zoe.
Jane, when I was talking about the editing, Jane said that was me, wasn't it, Karen? Edit nightmare. In Jane's defence, she had written the longest book, and also in Jane's defence, I'd already done 4 when I got to Jane, so I was already quite tired. My little red pen was going nuts. And Jane's book I did online, and I think I find it a bit harder on a screen. I much prefer to write, but obviously her being in Ireland and all, I said, oh, come on, we'll speed it up because we can go digitally. But, my little computer red pen was getting smoky. I looked up now then. There is a word called pistophobia, and it means fear of punctuation. So I thought we could rename our group the Pistophobics. I thought that might be quite funny.
That would be a really good quiz team name, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I know.
We should do a quiz and call ourselves that.
yeah. I was keeping myself amused whilst I was editing. I was like, it's quite funny because, and I know why it happens. All of you, like Jackie, when I did Jackie's book, she was like, oh my God, you've circled the same thing every time. Now, she knew exactly how to do that. I think it was something to do with, she always put her full stop after her speech marks. Now she knows that her full stop goes before her speech marks, but I think it's kind of like muscle memory. When you're typing away like a mad person, once you do it wrong once, you're automatically programmed to do it wrong a squillion billion times. So, so through her book, I was like, with my red circle pen, and she was like, oh, for God's sake, I'm so sorry. But I think, and that's my fault as well, for telling you all to let go of perfection and just let the creativity flow. I'm never telling anyone else that ever again.
Yeah, it has to have a caveat with it, as long as your punctuation is correct.
Yeah. But no, I love that. I love that you all kind of threw yourself in, just went, do you know what, I'm just gonna go for it. And your book, yeah, your books are all the better for it. And yeah, that was me. Jane says I'm mortified, but Jane, you were in the throes of your story. You were in the zone. You were creating. You didn't give a monkeys about that little comma sitting outside the the speech marks. She said creativity flowed and punctuation went down the toilet. But it made me chuckle. But I mean, it's just, it's kind of like rubbing your head and patting your tummy. You can't do both at the same time, not properly. And I think sometimes when people look at the editing process, I know, Joanna, when you had your book edited, and we won't go into sort of finite details, but saying what the cost of that is, and people go, God, that's really expensive. But if you think, I mean, I would say 50,000 words probably took me 12 to 16 hours to edit. Now that's a lot, and it's not something you can just do like that. You can,
like reading it.
No. You have to really labor over every word. You have to take lots of breaks because you start to get brain freeze. And I was doing it one evening. I said to my husband, I'm so tired, I'm nodding off, and now I'm not doing a good job, so I've got to stop. Do you know what I mean? But you have to do it in sections. You can't do it for too long. And it is relentless. And also, it's one of those jobs that when you're doing that, you literally can't do anything else. So you couldn't just be chatting to someone. You can't have the radio. I can't anyway. You have to really be on it. So if anyone out there is thinking of having their book edited, and if you get a quote and you think, oh, that's quite a lot of money, bear in mind the man or woman hours behind that. It's really it's a really arduous process. But I mean, I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, and I got to have a sneak preview of all the books, didn't
I?
which has been fabulous. So you know, I don't probably need to ask you this question. I'm going to ask for the benefit of the listeners. How do you feel now you've published your first book?
Well, in the same weekend that I got that went live, I also had a piece of my glass art in the Turner Contemporary for their open exhibition, and we went to Margate to the preview night, and I was more excited about the book. but
that's outrageous.
But I've got a book. And, because it took a little while for it to all upload and everything. I didn't have the book, and then the following week it was half term and we went to Weymouth for a few days, and the Kindle version had gone live, but the paperback version hadn't. It took a couple more days, and so we'd gone away, and then my friend posted a thing on Facebook with a picture of her holding my book, and I felt like someone had seen my newborn child before me. and I was like, Tony, I haven't got my own book, and look, Maz has got my book, and so-and-so's got and I haven't got a copy. So bless him, he went on Amazon and ordered me one to be sent to the post office around the corner from where we were staying, so that I could have my book. And then he gave it to me, and I was like,
it's something special.
I didn't know what to say. I was a bit speechless. Because even though obviously I know what's in it, I designed the cover. I totally know what it looks like. I actually didn't know how thick it was going to be, right? Because Steve, who's been doing like all the formatting and stuff, he'd struggled to get the font small enough down the spine. So we ended up agreeing that we wouldn't have anything printed on the spine because it would just look too silly because it was so small. So I was imagining that it was going to look more like a pamphlet. Do you know what I mean? Just someone had bended something in half and put some staples down the middle. But when it arrived, I thought, oh, it's actually more substantial than I thought it was going to be.
Proper book. It's a proper book.
But you can, so I can't see whether
it's so awkward, this camera. You go back to front.
Yeah, look, but it is actually still a bit too thin to have proper words down there. So, but that really was a pleasant surprise that it felt like it was worth $5.99. It had enough pages in it and it was thick enough. Do you know what I mean?
Isn't it funny? We deliberate over the cost of a book. You go to, Costa or Starbucks and pay like £5 for a caramel latte. You spend a whole year writing a book and you go, oh, is £5 too much?
Yeah, I know.
It's mad.
And funnily enough, right, on yesterday when Jackie and I went to Ladies Who Latte and we did our presentation about the group and about the books, and I took a couple with me, and one of the ladies there wanted to buy one, and so she gave me a £20 note, and I thought, oh, I don't carry coins. I literally carry my phone with my cards and a couple of notes, or whatever, and I had £15 in change, but I didn't have any coins or anything like that. So I just gave her £15 back, right? Thinking, oh, it doesn't matter about the odd pound, And then she threw a £1 at me across the table and she went, was you going to let me off that £1? Well, I was really embarrassed, and she went, why would you do that? If you say it's worth $5.99, I'll pay $5.99. She went, I would have paid a tenner. I think $5.99's
oh, bless her.
like too cheap. I was like, oh, okay, I'll take that. I think I have a hang up with money. That's all about me. It's not about her.
No,
it's not about her at all. And I'm, when I think about, my book's a children's book. My book's only like 20,000 words or whatever, 19,000 and something. And like, Jane has spent, so many more hours on her book, and that's got to be worth more money. And, Tony went, you're terrible. You just do yourself down like this all the time with your glass, with everything you do. You undervalue yourself. And I thought it's actually a really interesting thing to think about, because and people are super impressed. People are super impressed that because how many people say, oh, I must write a book and never get round to it. Jane says, she said, I totally get that. She was talking to a lady today who was asking about my painting. Jane's a fantastic artist, isn't she? And all she could talk about was my writing. It's utterly compelling. And Jane said, it's like you're on QVC, Bev, modelling the thickness of your book. But she says you are amazing and no imposter syndrome, please. I know. Maybe that's what it is, though.
It's a little bit.
Because I'm not a writer. I'm a glass
But
artist.
you are. But you are.
Yeah, I am now.
Yeah. I found it hard to call I was always a bit, what do you do? And I go, well, I write books. I wouldn't actually say I'm an author or I'm a writer. Colin, my husband was saying to me, I was on about book 6 then. He said, I think you can probably call yourself a writer now that and I'm now on book 10 and I still go, oh, well, I do a little bit of writing. I mean, how ridiculous is that?
It occurred to me today, because I listen to Chris Evans in the morning on Virgin Radio, and they love a good book and they're always reviewing books, right? But it occurred to me this morning as they were interviewing, what's her name? Sophie Dahl. Right?
Oh, yeah.
She's got a new children's book out. It's her second one, and I thought this last week as well when they were interviewing they interview someone literally every day about a book, but basically they're always famous people who've brought out a book, and it's either a biography or it's about something that's happened to them, like their view of being a mum, or or it's a children's book, right? A lot of them are writing children's books, and I thought that's really great for them because they've got automatic publicity. Everyone wants to talk to them. You look on and think, oh, it's already a bestseller because it's been out 3 milliseconds and everyone sold 500,000 copies in 2 days, and they sort of go around the rounds doing the like Graham Norton and doing Chris Evans and BBC and and I thought, what about people who, normal normal people. How do you ever get to that point where you've got access to anything remotely like that?
Yeah.
We're never going to have it. So it is down to our friends and our sort of cheerleaders in the background, isn't it? Sharing stuff and you know, putting things on social media, trying to build up some sort of identity or presence. But go back to the question about, are you an author? If Sophie Dahl was asked, what do you do? She would probably say, I'm a singer. You know, Ron Howard, you know, the famous director and the guy from Happy Days was on this morning. Him and his brother have written a book. It sounds marvellous. I don't think he'd turn around and say, I'm an author. He'd say, I'm a famous director. It's almost trivialising being an author because they do it like this as an afterthought on the side, and they enjoy doing it. They've all enjoyed doing it. And a lot of them have done it through lockdown as well.
Yeah.
No, things have come out of lockdown. But to me, the achievement of actually getting that out of my head and onto paper and into a book and into people's hands and people reading it or giving it as a gift to somebody else, I bet that means more to me than any of those famous people who know that, like, the publisher is going, oh, can you churn out another 3? Or do another one.
This is what I say to people as well. If you're unknown, the marketing's really hard, you know, because you've got to create. I mean, Jane's just saying she thinks the story of our group is the hook. And I would agree with that. You need some sort of wow to get you out there. I mean, the only sort of reassuring story I will say is the lady who wrote, I'm trying to move. I keep falling off the end of the screen. I keep going the opposite way. The lady who wrote 50 Shades of Grey. Now, whether you see that as a work of literary genius or whether you don't like it at all or what have you, the fact is that she's done quite well. Let's be honest, she's done all right. And people say, oh, well, she was so lucky. She was an overnight success. She wasn't. She was writing for 10 years. And she was posting, and I think she did a lot of fan fiction, you know, where they rewrite sort of, I don't know much about it, but they take other stories like superhero stories and they rewrite it in a different style. She did a lot of that kind of, fan fiction kind of stuff. And she was always blogging and putting posting bits from her book online. And I think she was very much an online writer. And all that took, really, I say all that took, well, it took 10 years of plugging away for a start. And then it took her friends to champion her and someone else to champion. And I only heard about 50 Shades. Must have been, how long ago did she write that? I bet that's nigh on 10 years, 5 to 10 years.
Yeah,
I bet it's a while.
The film has been out for a few years.
Yeah. And and I remember being at my friend Teresa's house. She went, oh, God, have you read that 50 Shades? And I'm like, what are you on about? I had no idea. I don't know what you mean. She went, oh, my God, the sex in that. You know, and I was like, really? What is it then? She said, oh, it's this book about blah, 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 and blah. And that's how I heard about it. Now, that is how everybody's going to hear about your book. It's how everybody's going to hear about Joanna's book. It's how everybody's going to hear about my book. Someone's going to say something to someone, oh, I've read Joanna's book. Oh, it's a bit cheeky, that is. You know, I quite like that. And someone will go, oh, I'm interested, a bit piqued, I'll buy it. And but it takes, when you're not famous already, which is what I say to my writers all the time, that takes a lot of extra work, takes a lot of tenacity, plugging away, banging your head on a brick wall. Sometimes you feel really demoralised because nobody's listening. But, you know, that is all, you know, but we're never, well, I say we're never, but I'm banking on being on the Late Late Show with Jane in Dublin. I've got that's my manifestation. I'm on the Late Show. In my head, I'm already planning what I'm going to say. But you know, we've got to work at that. We've got to work at that publicity. We've got to work at that profile. We've got to work at look how great we are. And I do feel a little bit disgruntled I should say is the word, which is not very in line with my practicing gratitude. But when a famous person brings, I have this little kind of person on my shoulder go, no, you should just be pleased for them. But, you know, oh, another famous person's bought out another flipping book and yay, hey, and they'll have sold 100,000 copies by the end of the day, whether it's a pile of crap or not, and whether they've written it or not. They can, some of them have a ghostwriter, they haven't even written it themselves. So I do get a little bit miffed about that, because I just think it's kind of cheating a little bit. But, you know, when I'm rich and famous, I won't feel that way.
No. Maybe when you're rich and famous, you can just talk into a dictaphone and give it to somebody else.
Like Barbara Cartland, I will lay on a chaise lounge dressed in feathers, sipping a gin and tonic. Yeah, that's it. With a really small dog on my lap, and just tell other people to write it. So,
you haven't got a really small dog though. You've got.
Well, no, that might prove. We're 7.5 stone. A dog like won't be able to speak. Should be sitting on me.
You might need something bigger than a chaise longue.
Yeah. So Jane says, and this is really true. This is what Jane says here. The idea that your words are said by others to their children, that's magical. And it's the same for Jane's book, and it's the same for Jackie's book. It's the same for Fiona's book, same for Sandra's book. The idea that somebody will repeat your words to others or will ingest your words themselves and gain something from it, that's a thing of beauty. She says, and Jamie Dornan, what's that? Jamie Dornan,
the guy who played he was the actor who played the guy in Shades.
Oh, is he? Yeah. She said, trying to write a good male role next. And she said,
write one for Idris Elba, I think.
Oh yes, please, or Tom Hardy. Not fussy. We're all coming.
You
she
are
said,
writing one for Tom Hardy.
Oh yeah, and Sophie loves Tom Hardy. That might be my hook. And Jane says you're all coming. I'm looking at that. Jane's getting us on the Late Show because Jane's posh and well connected. So we're on it. So, I mean, Joanna, when, you know, I don't think you're on book 2 now and underway with book 3, aren't you, if I'm right? Now, I don't think it ever gets old, does it? Getting your book through the post when it's fine. Because there's so many, like people who've never written a book before, they obviously know there's a lot to do with the writing. But there's quite a lot of blood, sweat and tears goes in after that with the editing, and then back and forwards from the publisher approving the front cover, thinking, oh, that looks crap. I haven't centered that. Oh, my God, you know, you reach a point where you're actually sick of your own book. But then when it arrives and it looks great and it feels great, I don't think that ever gets old to you, Jo.
No, I think with my second book, I was more apprehensive because you had something to compare it to, like with book 1, and the reactions that I was getting with the first book. And I was thinking, you know, when you watch a film and they bring out a sequel and that's always crap. And I was thinking, you know, are people going to like this as much as they liked the first one? And so far, all the feedback's been they preferred the second one. So I'm like, oh, very good.
Yeah,
I like the first one, but no,
I'm reading your first one at the moment because I won it in the raffle at Adele's.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So, but you're right. It's the feedback from what you get. I mean, even like last night, a lovely book blogger put a great big long sort of review on Instagram, and I could see all the little chat going on with you know about it, and it's so lovely to see, because that's this person I've never met before who's read a book and has gone out of the way to sort of write a review on it.
That. And I commented on it on behalf of Harvey and Chester from their Instagram page and told her that my mum is reading that book at the moment.
Oh, I've had a social media sort of day off today until tonight because I've had the other hat on, but I'll go back through it all and I'll follow.
Such an honour, isn't it? It's such an honour when people give you a nice. And my note to anyone listening out there: if you ever think, "Oh, I can't be bothered," or they won't care if I get, we really care. We really care. And you know, if especially if you've got something nice to say, it means the world. It makes all of the tears and the tantrums worthwhile, doesn't it?
Yeah. And even if it's a 1-star review, because some people just go out of their way to tick the 1-star box, please back it up with a constructive criticism. Because if you're going to give someone a 1 star and people are sort of like giving it 5s and 4s and you plonk a 1 on it, please explain why, even if it's like, I don't like reading romance, or I don't believe in crystal thingies.
I was going to say crystal meth. Don't believe in that either. But no, I know. And some people are a bit keyboard warrior-ish, aren't they? And not very kind. But it's always important. And let's face it, that's one of the things that makes you so vulnerable as a writer, and why it's so hard. Because we talked about this in the academy. You're not going to please all of the people all of the time. Your book may be amazing, but it won't be suitable for every audience. People love The Lord of the Rings. For me, I'm like, no, it's just not my thing. Now, that's nothing to do with the quality of the book or the quality of the story. I took my son to see it at the pictures. It was the best snooze I've had in a long time, because it was so long for a start. And my son came out.
There's so many names.
I got really confused. I
couldn't follow which character was which.
But people absolutely love it. They go mad for it. I remember my son coming out saying, "Oh, do you remember when this happened to that and that person did that?" And I thought there were about 4 million people in the cast. I can't remember one horse from the other, and so it wasn't. That was never going to please me, because it's not my thing, and that's okay.
But would you have gone online and gone,
no,
that's a load of shit?
No, you wouldn't.
You
wouldn't.
Keep that thought to yourself and go, it's not my type of book.
Unless something is really badly written, or it's riddled with mistakes, or or it's offensive, I would say, then I would just think, well, it's just not my thing. It's all right, but it just wasn't for me, and that's absolutely. It's like films. It's like if you go to. We had some friends some people who we knew, through people that we knew, and they went to a restaurant, and they were quite high maintenance types, I would have said. And they ordered this food and sent it back. Now, they ordered a whole fish. I think one of the reasons they sent it back was because it came and it looked like a fish. Well, looks like a fish, swims like a fish, it's probably a fish. Do you know what I mean? And they sent it back because they didn't like something in the, something ridiculous, like, tarragon infused fish. And when they got it, they decided they didn't like tarragon. Now, they made a huge furore about that, quite embarrassingly, and stamped around in the restaurant. You're thinking, you just ordered the wrong thing, mate. You didn't. There's nothing wrong with the fish. There was nothing wrong. You just didn't like what you ordered, and it's the same with everything, isn't it? I think it's important to be kind anyway. But you won't nothing. And as a writer, it's important to remember that, I think, because you can take it really personally, can't you? Really personally.
You can't write for every single person in the world.
No.
But going back to what you said about, or James might have said about your words being read to a child is magical. I was like, I just thought, oh my God, that is so true, because one of my choir friends, Amy, she bought the Kindle version as soon as it came out, because she was like, she couldn't wait for the paperback. And that night she read the first chapter to her 2 girls for bedtime story, and they got to the end of the first chapter, which is quite a long chapter, the first one, and they both went, "You can't stop on a cliffhanger."
And
they made her read 3 more chapters. Luckily, a couple of them were quite short ones, and she was like, "I can't keep reading." They're like, no, please, we need to find out what happened.
So lovely.
That was such a compliment to me, because I thought that's what you want. You want people to want to keep on turning over the page, don't you, and find out what happened.
And children can be harsh critics and all.
Well, luckily, I had been passing the chapters through to Jackie's Finn.
He was very good.
We went to start with, and he did give me some excellent feedback.
Children are great for that. They're brutally honest, aren't they?
And it was interesting, because he was saying, I felt so sorry for Harvey. I felt so sorry for him, and I thought, you could, it's good, but if you can identify with the emotions that are in it, because being a children's book, it was sort of a bit about sibling rivalry, but about how we're in a pack. This is our family, and we do look out for each other. And then, even though someone's a bit annoying, you love them really, and you want to protect them, and that's sort of how it pans out. And I thought that does translate to human children, quite
adult children. I think I need to get a copy for my kids, because they're like, you're supposed to be grown-ups now. Stop hiding. No, no, I'm going to get a copy for Christmas and put it in there like stocking.
Just a little word to the wise, but
yes,
it is lovely
kids of all
though.
ages, even 26.
Yeah. Oh,
And the other lovely thing was, I've got this really lovely friend who's from Los Angeles, but she lives in Hawaii now, and she'd been visiting home to Los Angeles or California somewhere, and she was on the plane on the way back, and she'd mucked up she got confused with the arrival time of the plane, so she was stuck in the airport for longer than she thought, and she had downloaded the Kindle version of my book onto her Kindle like the week before, so she sat in the airport reading my book. Now she's in her 60s. And she said, and she's American as well, and sometimes like American humor, it doesn't sort of translate sometimes, does it? But she said, I was chortling away to myself, I'm so glad I had your book, because I really needed cheering up, because I'd like mucked up the times and I was fed up and I just wanted to get on the plane. I just wanted to get back to Hawaii. And there I was. And then before I knew it, I was back home, and I'd read most of your book. And my paperback was waiting for her on her doorstep, because she'd also ordered that.
But think about that, you know, your book is now in Hawaii. And this is how these things happen, doesn't it? You know, you've got and I think one of your friends, Marion, in Hong Kong, has read one of my books. And I was like, my books are like across the other side of the world. I mean, that's how these, you know, from little acorns and all that to big oak trees grow. So that's how it starts. I think, just touching on your earlier point, when I was reading Jane's novel, and Jackie's, to be fair, Jane's did make me cry. Actually, I got quite emotional about Jane's, just because I won't go into too much detail because I won't spoil it for next week, but it's very poignant and it's very current, and a lot of what she explained I could really identify with, not in the same situations as she explains it in her book, but I could identify with a lot of the feelings of the characters in her book. And I think that's it in a nutshell. If you can engage your reader emotionally, whether it's because they chuckle, whether it's because when they read Joanna's, they go, "Oh, blimey, I didn't know you could do that," or whether they cry, or whether they laugh, or they get angry. You know, that's what you're wanting. You're wanting that connection, aren't you? Yeah. And when you get reviews from people who say your book made me feel like this, or your book, I could really identify with the characters in your book, or like Joanna, I know, had lots of great comments from women going through the menopause. Now, she hadn't written that book initially, had you, Joanna, about them? It just happened to be that Joanna may be slightly around the menopausal age, and her characters were slightly around. Feeling slightly menopausal.
That could be a whole genre in its own right.
Oh my God! Yeah. Oh my God! That would be quite saucy, because certain things happen to you in the menopause, so it's not probably, you probably couldn't print that. But you know, that
I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Some people have got no shame, have they, Joanna? But you know, that's really lovely that she had that sector of her audience who, you know, became her audience because they really identified, and that's the beauty of great writing. It doesn't matter what you write about. It doesn't matter about your writing voice. It doesn't matter about your genre. It's about whether what you write will resonate with the people in your target audience. And I think if you can do that, that's to be really celebrated. What do you think, Joanna? Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's lovely when people pick different bits of it out of the book. You know, if, you know, somebody, they don't all agree on one thing, you know, and it's like that when I read a book, I might like something completely different to what the person sitting next to me likes about it, you know, and that's it with reading, isn't it? And that's the compliments that you get back. Down to, you know, a divorcee who said that she's going to go back out dating again, and even like yesterday, somebody said, "Oh, she thinks she's Henry," and I said, "Oh, she's waiting for Danny," and it's all that sort of feedback. So I could just see, what was the kids' programs with the dogs with Aunt Mabel?
Oh, the one where the dog went.
Not Pip. Was it Pippin?
Oh,
yeah,
Pippin, the dog went in the plane, didn't he?
Yeah, because I mean, that's it. I always write books and want to see them made into a film. So I think that's a really good way of, that's like bringing that into your sort of your vision board as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's you visualizing the book, isn't it? And that's the power. And that's why your book will resonate on so many different levels with so many different people. And when people quote bits from your book, one, it's fabulous because it means that people have actually read it and taken note and had some reaction to it in lots of different ways. So it's not all on one level, which is marvelous. But you know, when I'm reading Joanna's at the moment, and I've got in my head what I think those characters look like, and I'm playing that out in my head. And when I read Jane's, I visualized Grove House where they all live. I'm not going to give too much away, but I in my head I've got a really vivid image of where they live, what their outside area looks like, where they worked. I've constructed all of that in my head. Now that might look completely different to what Jane has constructed in her head, but that's the beauty of books, is that it's a different film for everyone, isn't it?
Jane must have done a really good job on her descriptive writing for you to be able to put that
the imagery. Yeah. She's quite she's got a great way with words, Jane, hasn't she? She's very, you know, she's a good orator, do they call it? But she said she's been in a book club for 12 years, and I always find it fascinating how we select our favourite parts, and that's true. You know, and if you can find a book, if you can write a book that resonates with different people on different levels, I mean, you know, that is, you know, we all sort of hide our light under a bushel a little bit. Well, yeah, I've written a book, you know, don't want to brag about it. But actually, you should be singing like a canary, because I think it's, what a wonderful gift, you know, what a wonderful thing to have achieved. And, you know,
Harvey and Chester are certainly looking forward to all the
fame,
adoration that they're going to get.
I hope it doesn't go to their heads, Bev, actually. They start demanding cashmere dog jumpers and will only eat caviar.
No, if you read my book, you'll find out Harvey hates a jumper.
Oh, does he? Oh, yes, he did. He's not keen on the...
When Jackie picked me up yesterday, Chester was getting a bit like, he had his head up her skirt. I was like, oh, Chester, how rude. I was like, he's very friendly.
Over friendly, yeah.
But I got them new collars, and I said it was because, like, they're having a book launch, they deserve nice new collars. I said to Jackie, the actual reason is because I've had bad knees and they haven't been on really long walks like they used to. Chester's put on a bit of weight and his collar got too small.
It's got a fat boy collar.
He's gone into a little chunk.
So oh, love him.
He needed the next size up collar, so I couldn't give him one without Harvey getting a new one, because that wouldn't be fair, would it?
Aren't we funny about our dogs? Aren't we funny? It's like, then, like,
I didn't tell Chester that's why he needed a new collar. I just said it's because you're having, you know, people going to be there and you're going to have a haircut the day before. It'd be nice to have a new collar. I didn't say you've put on one.
We're nuts, aren't we?
You don't want to fat shame your children.
No. Zoe, this will be resonating with Zoe. Zoe treats her dogs like, I mean, God, they're completely overindulged in every aspect.
She's got a new puppy as well, hasn't she?
Yeah. And when my Mabel, all, you know, 7.5 stone of it, when it was her birthday, Colin bought her some smoked salmon, especially for her birthday. And I said, right, you need to remember that she is a dog. Yeah, but it's her birthday. It's her birthday, he said. I said, but she doesn't know it's her birthday because she's a dog. Like, oh, but it's her birthday. I was like, oh, for God's sake. You know? But we do become a little bit pathetic for our animals.
We do. So
I tell you what,
his birthday, I got him a doggy cupcake over at Pets at Home.
Did you?
And then I felt bad because I hadn't got one for Harvey, and I thought, and Chester literally just demolished it. Harvey just stood there going, "That's mine," you know.
Yeah, they don't
like, he's had a whole cupcake to himself, and you didn't get me one. And I thought, I can't explain that to you, Harv, because it's his birthday. You don't understand. But it made me feel really bad.
Oh my God!
Surprised. That's naughty.
Yeah.
I'd never do that to my children.
One eating the cake, and all the others are standing around crying. That's a little bit.
I think I went and got a little, like, few gravy bones.
Yeah.
But
oh
he
my
knew
God.
that they were not as good as a cupcake.
Oh, he won't be fooled. He won't be fooled. He knew that he wasn't your favourite child that day. We are funny, aren't we? We become quite quite pathetic. I tell you what I do love about your dogs and your cat, Poppy, who features in the book as well.
Yeah.
Oh, the pictures, Joanna, of Poppy curling up for a snuggle in the dog basket with the dogs. Oh, it's just adorable. It's so cute.
Yeah. Today on Facebook, you know, like the memory thing comes up, and it was like 9 years ago today.
I saw that.
Picture of Harvey when he was a puppy. He was only 5 months old, and Poppy in his bed. And that's how, because she was here first, and she was like 5, I think, at that point. She exerted her authority straight away by infiltrating his space. And he just, because he was a puppy, he just let her in. And that was it then. She could share. And then we used to have a big beanbag in the lounge. And he'd get on the beanbag and he'd be in the middle and he'd be like, oh, snuggled in. Poppy would come along, put her paws on it and go like this. And he would literally shuffle over, make her space, and she'd get on and she'd snuggle in. If she was in the beanbag first and Harvey came over, she'd just go, no, I'm not looking, didn't see you.
I love cats.
And he'd just look at her and then he'd give up and walk off.
Oh, it's so lovely though watching to snuggle. Jane says Jane's got 2 over-pampered dogs. One's basically a terrorist though, isn't it? One of Jane's dogs is absolutely a small dog with quite the attitude, I think. It says my 2 are like that. One can be fast asleep and the other one gets a treat, and suddenly you get the sense of indignant scrutiny from the other.
Yeah.
My dog's like that. She don't miss a trick. She could be snoring like a bear. Something happens, she'd be like, oh, they are missing out. I need to
What
get
did
in
I
on
miss?
the action. Yeah, I know. They're outrageous.
Good fodder, aren't they?
Oh my God.
They're such good fodder. They're such good. You can make anything up, really.
Yeah. And from a children's point of view, children love animals, don't they? So that's going to appeal. Go on, Joanna. Sorry.
I was going to say, my dog's 13 now, so he's going a little bit deaf. And we've just recently discovered that the app on my phone that reminds me to do pelvic floor exercises, that then goes beep, 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 actually puts the fear of what's name up him, because I'm not sure how much he can hear. So when he hears the alarm go beep, beep, he ends up sort of jumping on someone's lap, shaking. So I can't do them around him now. I have to make sure that it's sort of switched to silent.
I love that
vibration.
Probably.
I
love that Joanna has an alarm to remind her to do pelvic floor exercises. We all went, oh, do you? Like, that's the most normal thing in the world. I set my alarm to get up in the morning, Jane, or Joanna, or to remind me that there's a chicken in the oven, not to remind me to clench my frou-frou every now and again.
Men don't know they're born, do they?
No. Jane said the dog's probably worried you might make him do pelvic floor exercises as well.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that is just so funny. The things that happen to us poor girls as we get older. We won't. That's a whole session for a whole nother evening, I think.
That's another book.
Yeah, that is a book. That is a book.
I might a collective anthology of short stories about menopause.
Oh, do you know what? That would be hilarious. Like, but only funny stories allowed.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious. Menopausal mayhem. Yeah, let's do it. We pledged here on.
We're all the right age. Well, maybe Fiona's not the right age, but I think she can appreciate it from what she's been through before as well. But the rest of us are.
Yeah, I will mention my broken beaver.
Yeah, we know. That sits on the windowsill.
Yeah. I'm just going to get it for anyone who's out there who's a bit concerned that I've completely lost my marbles. I was at a network meeting with Joanna a few days ago, maybe a week ago, and they said, get something from your room that says something about you. Like, they didn't give us much time, so it was a quick just grab something and it can talk about you, and it'll be really, so everybody else is getting something poignant like a beautifully embroidered diary or a perfect. Well, I've got a beaver. And my beaver sits on the windowsill for all to see, and everyone was a bit nervous. And what it is my son went to beaver camp, which I think is a rather unfortunate name. It was the little group that they have before they go to Scouts, isn't it, or Cubs or whatever.
Yeah.
And he'd gone away to beaver camp, and he came home and he said, Mum, I've got something really exciting to tell you. And I'm like, what's that, Don? He went, I've bought you a new beaver. Well, we just sort of collapsed onto the floor, and once we'd picked ourselves up, he said, and here it is, and here is my new beaver. But my new beaver is now about 21 years old, so, and he has got a little bit of a broken hat, because my beaver obviously is wearing a hat. And I said that's quite indicative of the menopause, because my beaver is now broken.
Yes. I can't hear the word beaver without thinking of the film Airplane, where Priscilla Presley's up the steps, and what's his name, the lead actor guy, that Steve Martin.
Oh yeah, Steve Martin.
Nice beaver, like he's looking up her skirt, and she goes, thank you, I had it stuffed this morning. And then she turns around and hands him a stuffed beaver.
Brilliant. Never gets old, does it?
Joke in the film.
Yeah. Jokes about our naughty bits never ever gets. Oh, Leslie Nielsen, Jane says, yeah. And Jane says, sounds like a scene from Naked Gun. That was it. Naked Gun. Yeah, Jane says,
no, it was Naked Gun. See, menopause. I can't remember anything.
Yeah. And she says that's not a hat, it's a cap, which is even more.
Not a Dutch one.
I've got a broken cap.
Listen, how's my interview gone?
I know. The children's book we're talking about tonight.
No, we're talking about broken beavers. It's
save this conversation for my slot.
Yeah. Are we past the watershed? Probably not, are we? No, not yet. Not quite. No. But I think you're like me. Well, and Joanna too. But I think you're like me, Bev. You like a bit of humour. I think it gets you through life, doesn't it?
Definitely. I mean, what would lockdown have looked like without a giggle?
Oh my God, yeah.
And writing these chapters and stuff about the dogs. Oh, hark! Dogs. Now talking of the dogs, just kept making myself chuckle.
Yeah,
and it was, and I mean, not only that, but obviously having our weekly Zoom meetings in the group as well. Just look forward to that so much.
Yeah.
And I said to my friends today that I met for lunch, I said, the weird thing was that I actually only met Jackie in real life last Friday at the women's
well, with none of us.
When I saw her, I didn't think, oh my God, I finally met Jackie. It didn't even occur to me that I hadn't actually met Jackie.
I know.
Because I just felt like I'd known her forever already.
It's very surreal, isn't it? And we've not actually all been together in the same room at all yet, have we?
No.
None of us
makes it over.
I know, Jane. We've never met Jane in person. I hope she's still a real person.
Well, I have.
Yeah, you have. But Jane said we lowered the tone there. I don't know what she's talking about. Don't know what she means. No, we haven't all been together all at once at all, have we? And that is just, I mean, and I think as well, hats off to all of you guys on top of that for what you've achieved, considering Jane says, Kat, that's a stroke of luck that we haven't met her in person.
She's so modest.
No, she's gorgeous. But it's hats off to you guys that you've managed to be so supportive of each other. Like, I think this is the thing about writing books as well. We talk about the comments coming in and all of that, and it really does facilitate sort of empowerment. People go, all your friends suddenly sort of dash out of the woodwork and want to support you and want to champion you, and that's a really beautiful, that's what life's about. And this group has been very much about, I've sometimes, like Jackie sent me something the other day. She said, I don't quite know what to do about the front cover, and she was umming and ahhing about the font. I gave her a couple of my thoughts to put it in the group, and immediately all of you went, oh yeah, look, that looks great, Jackie, but what about this, what about that? And you're all really on it all the time and really keen. And each of you, like Sandra today, oh, my book's just gone live, and everybody's like, oh, I'm so pleased for your everybody's been really pleased for each other's success, and I've found that thoroughly
I'm just as
heartwarming.
pleased for everyone else's book as I am for my own, honestly. I bought a copy of Fiona's because that was out in time to take it to the networking thing yesterday to share that with people as well. And Jackie had the front cover of hers printed out because hers isn't actually out just yet, is it? And you could see everyone around the table was like feeling them and go, oh, it's so lovely, it's so lovely. And I felt proud for Fiona that her book was getting really lovely comments as well as my book, and then Jackie talking about her book. I had that like thing welling up in my chest.
Lovely.
You know what I mean?
Book family.
Yeah.
It was so
It's been a beautiful experience. It really has. And it's really, you know, it's been a crappy year and a half, hasn't it? There's been a lot of negativity. There's been a lot of junk going on. I won't even touch on that. So this has been a real rose in amongst the thorns, hasn't it? It's really been a lovely, lovely experience. And, you know, and I think shared, I was listening to one of my heroes, Michael Rosen, speak yesterday at the Ed Show, and he was talking about his recovery from COVID. And I mean, he was in a coma for 40 days. 40 days in a coma.
God.
Yeah. And when they put him on a ventilator, they said, can we put you on a ventilator? And he said, well, you've got, it's what are the odds? And they said 50-50. What are the odds if I don't go on a ventilator? They said none. So, and that was it. So, I mean, and so he talks about that and how he's still got a long COVID. He's lost the sight in one eye, he's lost the hearing in one ear. He's got funny things going on with his toes. He's had a lot of health problems since.
Oh my God.
Oh, he's such a brilliant speaker. I love him because he's all about free writing and lack of restraints on children and rigidity and all of that. And he's all about expression and creativity, which I just love. But he was talking about how writing has helped him through his life. Now, and he is a prolific writer. I mean, if you only said, God, I didn't realise he'd written so many books. He's written hundreds, hasn't he? And he was talking about how writing had got him through difficult times. I mean, since his recovery, I think he's written 3 books since he's come out of hospital. And one of those was about his journey. Yeah. And I bought that actually. And I bought Many Different Kinds of Love, and he signed it for me yesterday. So I was really pleased about that. But yeah, he was saying that it was quite interesting. He said, like, say you've got a problem, and he said, you know, like, I don't know the way to Sidcup. He said, I don't know why that came into my head, but I'm just thinking of a problem. He said, and that problem will be buzzing around in your mind. He said, and it will either feel like a bit of grey fog that is stopping everything else from being visible, or it will feel like a bag of worms and it's buzzing, you know, wriggling around in your head. He said, and that will cloud everything and will sort of tarnish everything. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, you'll still be going, oh, I don't know how to get to Sidcup. I don't know the way to Sidcup. He said, and for me, when you write that down, you offload that.
Yes.
It's like you've got it out of your head and you've put it on the paper and you've shared that with, you know, 1 person, 2 persons, 1 million people, you know, whatever. But he said that is the catharsis of writing, the therapy of writing. Yeah. And I thought, do you know, he's absolutely right. When I talk about journaling, you can put anything in a journal. No one's going to judge you. No one's going to tell you you're an idiot. No one's going to, you know, evaluate what you've written. No one's going to disagree, agree, whatever, you know. So, and I think he was spot on there. You know, you get that out. And also, I think once you start writing, I mean, Joanna, I think, is really on a roll now. Once you start writing, it's almost become something that you can't not do. You know, because it's just there. Yeah. So I really loved that analogy.
About that, Karen, yesterday when we were, me and Jackie were talking at the Ladies Who Latte, because I said, you know, for me in lockdown, being a glass artist, I feel like when you're a creative person that does a creative job, if you can't be creative, it's like someone's cut your arms off.
Yeah.
And because no one was buying glass, and there was absolutely no point me just churning out a load of glass because it's expensive. Actually having the writing to do, which was a creative process and allowed me to still be creative, saved me mentally. And I was also playing my saxophone. So those 2 things, the writing and playing saxophone, which is a similar sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
being creative, totally kept me sane through lockdown. Absolutely gave me a reason to do stuff every day.
And I don't think it's too dramatic to say it can, you know, writing can be a real saviour. And I mean, it wasn't only the fact that we had our group and we had all of that lovely community together, but it's, I mean, I know Jackie would say, Jackie's had her struggles with mental health over the years, and she's found writing hugely cathartic, you know. So it's a real, it shouldn't be underestimated, the power of writing and the power of the good that writing can do.
I think Jackie and Jane have both said, well, Jane particularly, I know, definitely said, I almost don't want to finish writing my book because then it'll be finished.
But then it's time for book 2.
And then Jackie immediately said, I'm totally up for another book. I definitely want to write another book because I don't like having finished the book in a way. I know.
But how lovely is that? How lovely. It's like you've gone to a party that you don't want to come home from. I mean, that's just lovely.
And Sandra's already said, right, my next book is going to be this.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah, she said, can I publish my next one? Mabel has done it. I was like, you publish away, girl. You go crazy.
And I've had like a couple of people saying, oh, is my dog going to be in the next episode? Because like my next door neighbour's dog is a black and white cocker spaniel, and Coco, and my next door neighbour said to me, is Coco going to be in the next book because she is like Harvey's love interest?
Oh, yeah.
They do actually snog with tongues when they see each other. It's like
bless them.
But they just stand there licking each other's tongues. So I've got to weave that in somehow, but I don't know how appropriate that is for children.
Maybe just call
Lady
them
in the Tramp.
Yeah, sloppy kisses. Just sloppy kisses might be nice.
Sloppy kisses.
Oh, it's been so lovely to have you on tonight, Bev. And I must say, you've been just an amazing member of the group. You're always cheery and jollying everybody along. And I think, you know, if nothing else over lockdown, and like Joanna said the other day, she said, what I've got from writing is not just the writing. We've got this whole tribe of really fabulous people who you know, empower each other, who build each other up. You know, Joanna comes and supports my endeavours. I try to support Joanna's endeavours wherever I can. And that is, you know, that, I know it sounds a little cheesy, but that is what makes the world go round, isn't it? That, you know, and writing has brought so much good to all of our lives. It's brought us together in so many different ways. And that's just and I love, you know, in the academy we've got children's books, we've got novels, we've got non-fiction books, and now I've got more people asking me to publish them, and these books are from every variety, every genre, and how lovely is that?
I can't wait for Russ to do his book.
I've seen a prototype of one page and it's fabulous. It's fabulous. So I'm really excited for him to publish. And Jane said, we are very fortunate. We have been really fortunate to find each other, definitely. She suggests 50 Shades of Puppy Love.
I was going to say 50 Shades of Poop.
Without the bondage or the red room, I'm hoping. So Joanna, tell us before we go, when's book number 3 finished for you then?
Oh, not for a while yet, because my other creative hat is like exploding at the moment. So my Joanna Cates creates out there for helping people with marketing with their graphics, because that's come out.
That's really good.
So that's what I'm concentrating at the moment. Even though the book's whirling around in your mind and got all the characters there, they're just waiting for me to get them on the paper.
Some of the best writing will happen when you're not writing, won't it?
Yeah. When I'm cleaning the bathroom, that's when it all comes out.
Oh God, if I had to rely on when I was cleaning the bathroom, I would have written a book. I hate cleaning the bathroom.
Bathroom cleaning avoidance tactics.
But it's before I realised, because I've actually gone off into a different world and I'm thinking about the characters. I look around, I think, oh, I've done it. Brilliant. Really good. Anything story-wise, I sort of dream.
How to make housework go quickly. That could be a whole new book in itself.
Book for cleaning phobics.
For the world's most soul-destroying job. So anyway, it's been just lovely to talk to you both again, as always. It's been brilliant to have the lovely Beverley Bunn. If you want to come and meet our authors, we'll all be down at Store 104 in Rochester High Street, spookily enough, number 104. And that's on the 27th of November between 10 and 2. We've got some book readings from the children's authors, And then we've got some kids art activities, and then we've got a mindfulness and meditation session, followed by meet the authors of the adult book. So it's going to be a really nice day, actually. And the bookshop is an artisan bookshop with a really gorgeous cafe, and they sell the most amazing brownies. So that's a reason to come, if nothing else, I would have said. Yeah, and then we've got a lovely celebratory party for our friends and family, and a few dignitaries, and hopefully a couple of members from the press, because we think this is a story worth telling, at Dragon Co-work. And thank you again for their support. Ronan Stanley at Dragon, what a lovely chap he is, and really supportive of ventures and new businesses, and he's just a really, really nice man. So we're very thankful to him, and that takes place on the 3rd of December, and I have a feeling there may be some sparkly drinks involved in that, I'm pretty sure. So it's been wonderful to have Bev. Next week we've got the amazing Jane Carson talking about her book, The Cactus Growers Club, which will not disappoint. It's just a marvelous.
That one definitely needs to be a film, like you say.
Yeah. But so does Jackie's. Yeah, I know. So we'll start phoning round Tom Hardy, Johnny Depp, and all of the above, and see how we get on. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining us if you listened into the live on Facebook. If you're listening in on the podcast, it was great to have you on board. And if you're listening on replay, thanks again for listening in. We'll be here again at the Not So Secret Writers Club next Friday at 7 p.m. And Jane is just ready for casting. She's just getting ready for casting. She's preparing herself as we speak. So thanks again for listening.
Killian Murphy, because he's Irish, actually, isn't he?
Yeah,
even
that
though
would
he
be a
does
terrible
very
choice.
Good Brummie accent.
I wasn't keen on him until I saw him in that, and I fell quite deeply in love with him after that. I think, he was kind of very, very good, very clever actor. So we've got a few candidates for your book there, Jane. So we'll bear those in mind. But it's been lovely to speak to everyone, anyone, somebody, I don't know, whoever, everyone. It's been a very long day, and I've had a glass of wine. So my name's Karen Stanley. You can find me on Facebook at Karen Stanley Author. And if you think you would like to write a book, then send me a DM, and I will crack the whip and make sure you get that book done. I can be quite fierce when I put my mind to it. in a nice
supportive way.
Yeah. So thank you for listening. Take care, and see you all next week. Bye.